Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. So, I was just on a live stream with a couple of the girls, and we were getting into the topic of, of relationships, and it got me inspired, and I wanted to talk to you guys about a few red flags, warning signs that I ignored in several relationships that I had. That if I hadn't ignored these warning signs, I probably wouldn't have had such a bad experience. And so I want to share those with you guys in this video today. So if you haven't already, please take 1 second and give this video a thumbs up. It really, really does help me out a lot. Comment in the comment section, interaction with me on my live streams. It really, really does help my channel to get out into the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, if you don't mind engaging with me, like I really, really enjoy it. So give this video a thumbs up and share it with your family, your friends, and other people that you think might benefit from my channel. And if you are a addict and you want to come on my channel and share your experience, all you have to do is text me at the number that's on the screen, or email me at demayon@yahoo.com. So here we go. So there's several different relationships that I've been in that were relationships that just either there was cheating involved, there was physical abuse involved, there was just mental, emotional, and verbal abuse. Okay. And the way I look at it is if someone doesn't hold you, doesn't respect you enough to speak to you with respect, treat you respectfully, and not lay their hands on you, that's not someone that any of us need to be with, right? But I do understand, because I've been there. I do know how hard it is to get out of a situation that you've already gotten into, and you almost feel like you're trapped. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to talk to you guys about the signs that I saw that built up to where I was at in this relationship with this man I was with, and why didn't I leave? Why didn't I get out of there? Like, what was it that was keeping me in that relationship? I don't know what it was, you guys, but I'm going to share that with you guys today. Okay, so I started dating this guy back in 2001, and it was after I had just graduated. So if you guys don't know that, I graduated high school in the year of 2000. And man, I was super proud to be a high school graduate because, well, I was first born. My mom and dad were super proud. Now, they weren't proud of the grades I made, but I made it. I graduated, and that's all that mattered. And so when I met this guy, I was working at this place called Shoe Carnival, and I was also going to Garland County Community College, which is just a community college. And I had signed up to finish, do my basics, and to start focusing on, I think at that time, I was just going to school at that time for just like random stuff. Like I hadn't picked like a major or anything. I didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life. And at the time that I had started college, I had gotten really hard into the party scene. I was, um, drinking, smoking, and snorting methamphetamine. I was an everyday pot smoker. I was experimenting with cocaine, and I was drinking every single night because me and my girlfriends, we would go to this club called 5101. And you guys, this club was right on the lake. It was like, okay, so you would pull up and then you would go down this hill, and the club was right there. And then they had a dock that connected to the club that you could walk out onto. And there was all these lights around that dock, right? And so it was just like it was popping. It was a popping club. So me and my girlfriends, let me tell you guys, I used to wear the cutest little outfits when I would go clubbing. So this one I had was like this sequins butterfly. right? But it was a butterfly top that just covered right here. So it was a crop top and it was all sequins and it had the strappy straps. And I wore these black flared out pants. And I was just like, Jennifer Lopez, baby. So we would go there and we would dance all night long, and drink and get messed up and go home with all these different guys. Like, you guys, I don't even know. Like, I probably went home with a different dude every weekend. Like, it would be me and my girls. And if you're young and you're still in that stage where you're going out drinking and stuff, don't ever separate from your friends. Always take your friends with you. Don't go home with anybody by yourself. So, and that's what we did. We would like all go together, or we would hang out with guys that hung out with each other. Do you know what I mean? So, okay. So I was working at Shoe Carnival and I had just got promoted to floor supervisor. And I really liked that job. Like, I was really good at it. I've always gotten promoted at every job I've ever worked because I'm a really hard worker. One thing my dad always taught me when I was younger is that you don't get shit for free. Okay, you have to go out and make a living. You have to go out and work. Hey, straight talking, you got to go out and work for what you want. Okay, it's not going to be handed to you. And so my dad raised me really. He raised me with the attitude that money doesn't grow on trees. Make sure you keep your credit straight because you're going to need it later on in life. And to represent my parents and my family in a high way, like to make sure I go in and I do my job. So any job I ever worked, I worked my ass off. And I was always promoted. Within the first 6 months of my jobs, I always was promoted to either assistant manager, management, or floor, or some kind of supervisor. Okay. So at this job, I just got promoted to floor supervisor. And I was really, really heavy into snorting and smoking methamphetamine. Me and this other girl that worked there, we would go to the bathroom in the afternoon and we would put out rails, on the sink, and we would do rails of methamphetamine when we were at work. And so then we would work even faster because we were tweaked out. So we went to this girl's house after we got off work one night. It was probably like 10 o'clock at night. And she was like, hey, come on, let's go over to this guy named Flash's house. And I was like, what? His name was Flash. And so we went over to this guy named Flash's house. And that's where I met LD. And I remember sitting by him on the couch and looking at him. And he was so fine to me, you guys. He had dark brown hair and really, really green eyes. And he was just so cute. And I was also really high, though. I had been up for like days, snorting and smoking meth. So that could have had a lot to do with it. But at that time, I was super attracted to him. And so you guys also have to remember that, like, I was real strung out. Like, I was smoking meth every single day, snorting meth. I was barely hanging on. Like, my parents had not kicked me out of their house yet. So I was still living with my mom and dad. My parents were starting to get phone calls about my behaviors because in the town I grew up in, everybody knows everybody. And even if I was like at someone else's house doing dope, maybe their neighbors saw me. Maybe somebody's son or daughter came by and saw me over at so and so's house smoking dope. So my mom and dad were like really riding my ass. They were starting to like make it impossible for me to do shit. And I was starting to get frustrated. I was like, I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out because every time I would come home, my dad would read me the riot act and he would make me give him all my money that I made, and to make him sign my checks over to him because he knew that I was getting high. All right. So I was really, really in a lot of trouble with my parents. Things were not looking good on that point. So I ended up meeting LD, and I gave him my phone number, and he was like, yeah, I'll call you. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, it was like a Sunday, and then he didn't call me until that next Thursday. And when he finally called me, I was so excited, you guys. I remember that I felt so excited to date this guy because I just thought he was so fun. Well, we ended up going out and hanging out. And when I say hanging out, I mean, we ended up going out and smoking meth and kicking it out at a meth house all night long. And if any of you guys have ever done methamphetamine, you know what I'm talking about. So, and I'm going to tell the people that don't understand what I'm talking about. When you're smoking and shooting or snorting meth, it's usually like a bunch of people all together in one house, okay? And like what we would do is we would draw and we would have these like cameras set up to where they watched the outside, okay? And they would video camera. So if anybody was going to pull up, we would know it, right? And so that was kind of like tweaker, you know, we would have this like whole tweaker surveillance system rigged up. And it was just chaos. And a lot of like trailers that I went into didn't have running water, maybe they didn't have air condition, maybe didn't have electricity. A lot of them were like really dirty, and the only spot to sit was like on a little couch. Like it was crazy. So we were hanging out over at this house getting high, and we spent. That's how. Oh, that's how. Like that relationship with him, and then my relationship with my husband now. Like I met them both when I was actively using. But the difference between the relationship that I had with LD and that relationship that I have with Neil is that LD and I were not on the same level. Like he didn't have the same goals and dreams that I had. He didn't really want to change or get sober. Do you know what I'm saying? Or at least he didn't while I was with him. And he ended up dying, just so you guys know, he ended up dying in a car accident. Somebody was drinking and driving, and he was the passenger, and he was ejected from the vehicle. So, our rest in peace, you know. But it was a really hard time because we were both super codependent on each other, and we were getting high on meth, you know. Hey, Captain. And so the whole time we were together, we were using methamphetamine. The first date we went on, that's when I found out that he had nowhere to live. Okay. You guys, like, he had nowhere to live. Like, he was sleeping on the couch at his grandma's house. And I was like, I had never dated a guy who didn't have a car or a house to live in, right? So, for some reason, at this time in my life, while I was smoking dope, I wanted to save him and I wanted to help him. And I know some of you guys have heard the story, so bear with me, okay? I wanted to save him. I wanted to help him to get his life together, right? And so it didn't bother me that he was homeless because honestly, you guys, I was going to be homeless too. I ended up getting kicked out of my mom and dad's house because I wasn't coming home, because I was staying out all night, sleeping in my car and at his grandma's house. So I ended up getting kicked out of my parents' house, and me and LD ended up living out of my car for like 2 weeks until we got ourselves an apartment. And the reason we got an apartment was because I put up my whole check to get us into this little apartment. And when I tell you guys, it was the grimiest, nastiest, it was disgusting. It was an apartment that you rent by the hour. Okay. It was right across the street from the strip club, and it came fully furnished. And when I say fully furnished, it had a mattress on a box spring. Okay. It had a little old recliner in it, nasty as hell, a sink, kitchen, and a bathroom with a shower and a toilet. And that was it. And we lived out of that little one bedroom efficiency for 6 months until I saved up enough money for us to get our own little trailer. Okay. So this is when the warning signs started showing themselves. Okay. First of all, I was working 2 jobs to support us. I was working 2 jobs to make sure we had food in our stomachs, to make sure my car payment was paid, and to make sure that we had rent. Okay. And this dude was completely fine with laying up in the bed all day long while I was at work. Okay. So that's when I was like, you know what? I'm making him get a job. Okay. Well, okay. So Captain says hourly apartment or live in hotel. So let me explain to you. This was a 1 bedroom efficiency. So here in Arkansas, I don't know if they have them where you guys live, but we have old houses. Okay. Or it could be like an old building where they have a bunch of different rooms in it. And so somebody will buy that whole big building and then they will rent the rooms out. All right, by the day, by the hour, by the week, by the month. I mean, just depends on how you can pay. And they're the grimiest of grimy. They're the nastiest of nasty. Crack dealers will rent them. Prostitutes will buy them, and they'll run their business out there, and then they'll leave high and dry. So it wasn't a hotel. It was literally a one. They call them like not an extended stay. It's nastier than that. Like it's not as nice as an extended stay. Like it's literally, like I said, like an old plantation house with a bunch of rooms that somebody owns, and they rent each room out. So this place was so bad, they had roaches this big and rats that would all around. Like you could hear these rats at night. We were sleeping, I could hear them. One night we were getting it on, and we were in the middle of it, and I opened my eyes, and there was a freaking cockroach this big on his shoulder. It scared the living bejesus out of me. I said, flick that baby right off. I got so used to the roaches that I started to name them Juan and Pedro and George. Okay, like, and I know you guys. When I was in active addiction, I don't know if I tell you guys enough stories for y'all to understand. Like, I lived in some pretty shitty conditions, and a lot of it was because it wasn't because I didn't have a job. It was because I lived in those shitty conditions because I would rather spend my money on dope than get a nice place, And so I lived in that little efficiency bedroom place for 6 months. He finally got a job, and he started working for a construction place, and he was working like maybe 35 hours a week, 30 hours a week. So he was helping out a little bit. And so that really, really started, it really started to like help out a lot that he had gotten a job, because I was doing all the work. And that's something that I've always, okay. So yes, I was addicted to drugs. Yes, I got strung out, but for the most part during my addiction, I always maintained employment. Because first of all, I'm not rich. I didn't have a rich boyfriend. I don't have rich mommy and daddies. So when I needed to get drugs, it was on me to get dope. Okay. And I wasn't a full-time, I didn't prostitute. Okay. Like I never got to the point where I was standing on the corner. It wasn't because I hadn't tried it before. It was just because I always was able to maintain regular employment. Now, there were times when I got really desperate, and my dealer would have some stuff and I wanted it that bad and I didn't have cash, that I would say, hey man, can we make a trade? Okay. But for the most part, I always had employment, because I would get high and I would work my ass off. Yeah, right back to my job. Like, that's right. I went straight to working at Colorado Grill. And that's right when I met LDs, when I got out of treatment that time when I was in treatment with Missa, you guys. So and I waited tables there, and I was really good. So anyway, he got a job working for construction. And you guys got to remember, like, we're both getting real high still. And our relationship started to suffer because we were getting in fights over drugs. We were getting in fights over me not bringing home pills, me not bringing home dope and sharing it with him. Like it was getting out of hand. And one night we had went over to his friend's house, and we had been drinking. We were drinking. Yes, babe. That's something. What would you like? Yeah. I'll be in there. Go get it. Oh, there's yogurt, bottom shelf. Get you a yogurt. I don't even want that. Get yourself a yogurt, bud, or a Lunchable. So one night we had been out drinking. We were at this party. We were drinking vodka, you guys. And whenever I would drink, like I don't mess around. If I'm drinking, I'm taking those shots to the head. If I'm drinking, I'm putting the bottle in the freezer. I'm getting it as cold as I can, and then I'm taking it to the head. Like I don't mess around. Like if I'm going to get drunk, I'm going to get drunk. Okay. And then I'm going to be. So I was driving, and we had been drinking vodka, and we got really, really drunk over at his friend's house. And so me, him, his sister, okay, and there's Lunchables and there's some yogurt, or you can grab the peaches or the oranges. And then we ended up driving home with his sister, her boyfriend, and then me and LD. Okay, so I was driving the car and we're driving and he keeps messing with the radio. And you guys got to remember that I was really, really drunk, and so was he. So he keeps messing with the radio. I'm like, man, stop messing with my radio. I told you to stop messing with my radio, right? Well, I don't know what it was, you guys. He kept on doing it, and I just went, pap, and socked him right in the eye. Right then, that was on me. That was my fault. I should have never resorted to physical violence, but I did. Next is what I cannot even believe he did this. I cannot even believe we made it out alive. Right after I socked him, he took my wheel and he threw my car into oncoming traffic. He took my steering wheel and he just threw us into oncoming traffic. Yeah, hold on. I'll be done in a second. Took the car and threw us into oncoming traffic. And my whole car, like, it was so bad, you guys. I can remember that he took the car, jerked it, and then we went bam, head first into another car. It was the scariest thing that's probably one of the scariest things that I've ever had happen to me. Now, there's some other things that happened with this dude that were really scary too. So right then he jumped out of the car and he took off running. I got out, I went over to the person that we hit and I was like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And that's when the dude that I hit asked me for his insurance. I gave him my insurance, and then he left the scene of the accident. This man that I hit drove off in his car. Okay, my car was inoperable. It was on 4 flats, and the whole front end was caved in. My car couldn't go anywhere. So I gave that dude my insurance. He left. I left my car, and I went running down the street. The next morning I woke up and my whole neck was hurting. I was in pain, and he woke up and we were fighting, and I was like, "How could you do this to me? I cannot believe it. My parents are going to kill me. You wrecked my car. What the fuck, dude?" Right? And he had a black eye for me hitting him. Right then, when he took the car and he threw us into oncoming traffic, I should have never went back to him. That was one of the first signs that this dude, I'm not dealing with someone who's in their right mind. That's crazy. Okay, that's crazy. Yeah, sure, I punched him, but he could have killed us, all of us. Me, his sister, her boyfriend, him. He didn't care. He didn't care. So I didn't leave him. The cops ended up finding me. They actually charged me with leaving the scene of an accident. Luckily, I had full coverage insurance. My insurance fixed my car, and I was back on the road within no time. But that was the first moment that I realized this dude is not sane. But you guys also have to remember, I wasn't sane. I was on this meth binge all the time. I was constantly tweaking. I was constantly staying up all night long. Okay, I never ever slept, and it was so freaking, it was insane. And that's how I felt. I felt insane because I never slept. All right. So that happened. Of course, we ended up making up, and I'm sorry, I love you, I love you. And everything got pushed to the side. Well, I had a huge opportunity, and I ended up getting a job working for the state of Arkansas, which was such a great job. And I was so grateful to have this job. But the whole time I worked there, you guys, that's when the abuse started happening. It started out with him like humiliating me in front of his family. We ended up getting our own trailer, and it was a nice trailer. It was not an old trailer, but it was like semi-new. It was real nice. The carpet was brand new. It had nice little wallpaper. It was a cute little trailer, a double wide trailer. And so we moved into that, and I got us a couch, and I got us a cool TV and a nice bed. I mean, we had it going on, and it was coming up on Christmas time. And you guys got to understand that the way this guy grew up, he had no mom. His dad was crazy, certified crazy, and his dad kidnapped him and his brother and sister and brought them back to Arkansas, okay? Because they were in the foster care system. So he really had a hard life growing up, and his dad was abusive, okay? So his dad ended up getting this woman that he paid for sex pregnant 3 times, and they had 3 kids together. Their kids ended up getting taken by DHS because they were both on methamphetamine in California. When the kids got taken away and put into Child Protective Services, his dad was devastated. And his dad was like, fuck this, I'm going to get them back. And he ended up getting them and fleeing to the state of Arkansas. And that's where they remained, here with their dad, until they aged out of the system. Okay? True story. So he was super, like, he was really damaged. Like, he would tell me stories at night about his mom and how he wished he had a mom. He would tell me stories at night about how his dad would lock him and his sister and brother in the closet and only feed them like a hot dog because him and his girlfriends would be on drug benders. So he was like the oldest brother, and he would take care of his brother and his sister. So I'm not making excuses for him, but what was happening with him was just passed down from his dad to him. So we ended up getting our own little trailer, like I said, and things were going good, and we were kind of getting along, and I got a job working for the state, and that's when he started to hit me. And I remember the first time he ever hit me, he busted my head open. And it started out with like objects. It started out with him taking things like one time he took a burrito, a supreme burrito from Taco Bell, and took a bite out of it and then shoved it into my eye in front of everybody in the house. I was mortified. And then he started throwing stuff at me, right? He threw a sippy cup full of milk at me that busted my head open, and I bled everywhere all night long. Had to go to the hospital and get stitches in my head. All right. And so while he's doing all these things, like throwing stuff at me, slapping me, punching me, like, I'm not standing up for myself. Like, I would punch him back, or I would run off, and then he would keep doing it. Or he would say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to do it, right? And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. But see, the thing about it is, you guys, is he had no respect for himself. He didn't love himself. He didn't know how to love himself. Both of his parents were drug addicts. He didn't have a mom. He was a drug addict. His sister and his brother were both on drugs, right? And so they didn't have any kind of family unit, any kind of family support. And so when I came into his life, his whole family ended up depending on me for almost everything. I worked 2 jobs to make sure I kept that trailer, and it was me, him, his brother, his sister, her boyfriend, and their 3 kids living in that trailer with me. So basically, they played me. I finally ended up getting up the courage to leave. And the only reason I left, y'all, is because he cheated on me. And I couldn't take it because he had cheated on me before. And when he cheated on me the first time, he came home, had sex with me, and gave me 3 STDs. I remember him having sex with me and then waking up the next day, and I was itching and burning. And I knew right then something wasn't right. I went straight to the doctor, and I had chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trichomonas. all three of those sexually transmitted diseases can be treated and cured and with antibiotics. And so I was put on 3 really strong antibiotics, and I stopped having sex with him, because, and I took him to the doctor and he had to get treated. You would have thought that the minute that happened, I would have left him then. But guess what? No, I was a glutton for punishment, and I stayed. I stayed after he came home and gave me 3 sexually transmitted diseases. I stayed because I was in a meth-fueled binge for the last 5 years of my life. At that time, I had been smoking meth. And I had gotten to this point where I didn't think I could do any better. I thought I deserved it. I thought I deserved to have some dude that beat my ass and didn't work all day long. Like I was brainwashed. And he brainwashed me, and he would tell me, you're never going to find anybody like me. Now that I'm out of that relationship and I look back, anybody like you? You mean somebody who straight up leached off of me for 6 years? You mean somebody who sucked the life out of me? Ever since I got out of that relationship, my eyes have been opened to what real love is like. My husband today, you guys, he takes care of me better. He doesn't ask any questions. He goes to work. He works hard. He loves me and Nate. He takes such good care of us. The first day I met my husband, he opened the car door for me. He took me out to eat. He bought me outfits and jewelry and wined and dined me. Like, he treated me like the queen that I deserve to be treated like. But I'm going to tell you guys, when I first met my husband, I was so damaged from that relationship with that guy that I was in that I didn't even know how to take a compliment. You couldn't even say, Nicole, you're beautiful. I wouldn't believe you. And I truly believed that I was not worth anything. So when I finally got up this courage to leave, he had cheated on me again, and he had not come home all night long one night. So I went to sleep. I took my jewelry off. I put it on in my jewelry box, and I went to sleep. And guess what? I woke up the next morning and had been robbed completely blind. All of my jewelry was gone. In my own house. In my own house. So I left. I moved in with my friend Nicole and her boyfriend Jeremy. Jeremy has also passed away. Rest in peace. He died from an overdose. And Nicole is currently in jail for her addiction. But I moved in with them, and I went on a binge. I started smoking crack. I started rolling ecstasy, and I went on this basically binge to kill myself. I lost my job working for the state. I lost my job working at Sonic as an assistant manager, and I went on a full-fledged suicide mission to die. I started smoking crack and shooting cocaine and shooting methamphetamine. And I was in this dark, dark place. I thought I was truly worthless. And to make things even worse, one night, it had been 6 months since I had seen LD. And I was at someone's house, and I actually saw him. We were at the same place together. And he walked up to me and he hugged me, and I hugged him back. And I actually went home with him that night because for some reason I still loved him so much. And that night we went home and we drank, and we stayed at this, because he was staying with this gay guy named Gary. We stayed with this gay guy, and he had a beautiful home out in Glenwood, Arkansas. Really beautiful, rich, big, giant brick house. Beautiful home, beautiful. And he owned a construction business. And so I was staying with him that night, and we were drinking. And that night, you guys, I'm telling you what, we drank so much. We got into a fight, and he beat me so bad that I ended up in the hospital with a concussion that was so severe that every time I would stand up, I would fall to the ground like a tree going, timber! We were drinking vodka with Kool-Aid, red Kool-Aid. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And we were fighting in the kitchen. I remember it. Then we went out to the garage and he hit me. Bam! And my head hit the concrete in the garage, right? And then I remember him walking over to me, picking up my head and going, bam! Back on the concrete. When I left his house the next morning and I drove home, don't ask me how I made it. I looked like I had an alien head. I had knots and coming out from every side of my body. He hit me so hard, I pissed my pants. Okay? This dude beat me until I was almost dead. And I let myself be there. I let myself. I came home and I came to my mom and dad's house. And I remember my mom opened the door and I looked like I had just fought 12 rounds with Muhammad Ali. My mom and my dad were so upset. My dad was so hurt. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that his daughter had fell for this dude who was just beating her and beating her. And he kept telling me, he doesn't love you. He doesn't love you. You have battered woman's syndrome. He doesn't love you. But I couldn't see through it. And it wasn't until that night when he beat me so bad until I finally realized that he doesn't give a damn about me, and he never did. I was just a cash cow for him. I was just someone for him to step on to get to the next point in his life. Because after he threw me out to toss out to the gutter, he went out and he started dating a girl who was a nurse. And guess what happened to her? He threw her out of their moving vehicle and she busted her face on the curb and she had to have plastic surgery to fix her face. And then after he dated her, he got with another girl whose ass he beat every day. And then he ended up dying. I'm going to tell you guys, I tried to tell that girl that was the nurse because my mom and dad knew her parents and my little sister hung out with her when they were in high school. And I tried to tell her not to be with him, but she wouldn't listen. She thought I was a hater. She thought I was a girl that was just trying to steal her man. And I was like, why would I lie to you? Why would I tell you? He literally almost killed me. Well, sure enough, they were in their vehicle. She had a big giant Suburban. She was a registered nurse. And he was driving and they got into it and he threw her out of the vehicle and she landed on the curb. Bam! And that shit had to get plastic surgery. That's the kind of shit that this dude would do, and he didn't think twice about doing it. Okay? He didn't think twice about doing it. I had gotten into so many situations with this dude that I put my own morals and my own integrity and values and everything, my name, my reputation at risk because I was with this guy who used to beat the living daylights out of me, And so now when I look back on it, I'm just thankful that I'm alive. I've never dated another man who put their hands on me, ever. And if I was ever to not be with my husband and meet somebody else, I know now what the warning signs are for someone who is going to abuse me. This guy was a narcissist from the very beginning. He would gaslight me and he would tell me things that were happening that weren't really happening and then tell me that I was crazy because I forgot it. He would move my stuff around and tell me that I must have misplaced it and not really had it at all. He would tell me that I was a liar and that I was making things up. It was bad. And, a lot of people didn't take it seriously because we were both strung out on drugs. We were both on opiates and methamphetamine pretty heavy, Oh, thanks, Captain. So I just, I wanted to share that story with you guys because I know a lot of you, a lot of my girls on here, a lot of my viewers on my channel are women. And I just want you to know, like, I've been through a lot of shit in my life. I could tell you guys so many stories about more stories about the shit I put up with in that relationship from that dude beating my ass. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, oh, hey, SS, what's up, girl? I'm telling you, like, if a man's going to cuss you, call you out your name, put his hands on you, you do not need him in your life. If you're with a man who's getting high and getting fucked up and they don't want to change their life and they keep dragging you down into it, you don't need them in your life. You got to really look at that man and say, are there redeemable qualities in this person? Because see, that's what I didn't do. See, if I had truly asked myself, are there redeemable qualities in LD? The answer would have been no. I knew from the start that this dude was no good. Okay. I had other women telling me that they beat him, that he beat them, I mean. I had other people telling me that he had been just like this for many, 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 many years, right? And I didn't listen to what anybody had to say. I didn't take their advice and actually listen. But I'm telling you guys right now, any relationship that you're in where you both are abusing drugs and alcohol, listen to me, okay? You've got to get out of that situation, all right? Because it's not healthy, okay? If you have someone in your life that you're in a relationship and they're still getting high and you're not, I want you to understand something, okay? And this was really hard for me to understand. I want you to understand that you cannot save them and you cannot change them. You have to let them change on their own. They have to want to change, okay? The best thing you can do if you're in a relationship with someone who's struggling in addiction is encourage them to change, encourage them to reach out and get help, okay? Don't try to control them. Don't try to yell at them. Don't try to say, if you really loved me, you'd get sober. Or, you junkie, I can't believe you're still doing this shit. Don't you love me? Don't you love our kids? Right? I promise you guys that's not going to work. I tried it. I tried it, okay? The best thing you can do is to back off and encourage them to make the change and let them know, like, I'm only going to be around for so long. And if you don't make these changes, then I can't be here because I value my life and my recovery more than that. And I don't want to live like this anymore. I stayed in that relationship because I didn't think I could do any better. I thought I deserved to be in a relationship like that. I thought that that's what relationships were like. I thought he loved me. And now that I'm on the other side of that, I realize that that's not what relationships are about. That's not what love looks like. That's not how you treat someone else. I love you guys a lot. I love my subscribers, okay? I love my Real Talk Recovery family. And I wouldn't come on here and tell you guys these stories, these intimate stories about my life, these situations that make me vulnerable to other people. Because a lot of people take the things that I say and they try to turn these things against me. I just shared with you guys that I was basically beat for 6 years, that I was cheated on several times, I was given STDs, okay? And I still stuck around, all right? That's kind of embarrassing. But I tell you guys these stories for the simple fact that I know there's somebody out there who has done the same thing. And I know there's someone out there right now who is getting the same thing done to them. And they're thinking, I deserve this. I can't do any better. I know why he beats me, because he loves me. And that's not true. That is a lie. And that's why I tell you these stories, because I know I wouldn't tell anybody that I was getting beat. My parents knew because they saw the marks all over me. They saw my black eyes. They saw me busted up. They saw my lip. They saw my head cracked open. They saw the stitches I had to get on my forehead, right? My parents knew. But I didn't tell anybody. I didn't have YouTube to come on to and listen to somebody like me sharing their story and sharing about how they got out of that, right? The only way I was able to get out of that relationship was to run. The minute he cheated on me and didn't come home, I left so it would be his fault. Because if we had been together and he and I had been like on good terms and I had tried to leave, he would have beat me. He would have killed me. He would have hurt me, you know? Um, and then I even went back and put myself back in that situation. So I'm not telling any of you guys like I know everything and just do like me. I made mistakes. I kept going back and getting hurt even more. I was a glutton for punishment. But the reason I was like that is because I didn't love myself, because I had no self confidence, no self love, nothing. I thought I deserved that shit. I thought that was the best I could get. I thought that's what my life was going to be. Okay? And now look at my life. Okay? Now I have the most amazing husband, a beautiful son, a family that I love, a Real Talk Recovery YouTube channel of people that I love. And it's all because I finally started loving myself, right? That's the same thing with drugs. Getting off of drugs is like leaving a fucking abusive relationship. Okay? You're going to stay there and you're going to keep getting your ass beat. But one day it's going to get to the point where it's too much and you can't take it anymore. So if you don't get out alive, you're going to die. You're going to go out in a body bag. So it's like you can choose to make change and be uncomfortable a little bit and save your ass. Okay? Don't go back and forth like I did. Don't be a glutton for punishment. Okay? Don't keep on questioning what your gut is telling you. If your gut is telling you to get out, if your gut is telling you to get help and reach out and get help and reach out. I'm telling you guys, you do not want to waste years of your life in active addiction or in some relationship with somebody who's hurting and harming you. So, okay, I'm done. I'm finished with my speech for the night. I just get really passionate, you guys, about this kind of stuff, and it's only because, like I said, I've lived this. Okay, these are my stories from my real life. You know, I was in that relationship for 6 years, and about 4 of them were absolutely horrendous. Okay, and it took me many years to heal from that relationship. It was so hard for me to accept that my husband actually loves me. It was so hard for me to believe that he loves me and that he actually wants to be with me. And it's all because I sat in this relationship with someone else for so many years that I let them chip away at who I was and take away all of everything that made me. And then I was nothing. I was just a shell of who I was. And so when I met my husband, every time he would try to tell me something, tell me I'm beautiful, tell me he loved me, tell me I'm sexy, buy me a gift or open the car door for me, I couldn't even take a compliment. I couldn't even believe that he believed that about me. And I'm so grateful that he stuck it out with me, because imagine loving somebody and they can't even believe that you love them. And that's what it was like, because I was so damaged from being with somebody who just beat me and beat me and beat me and beat me. So now being with my husband has been so hard, you guys, because I love him so much, and I know that it's been hard to love me because of all these things that I've gone through before he was even around. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I love you, Captain. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to get so emotional, you guys, but when I love my husband so much, you guys don't understand. I've never been married, okay? Never. Neil is the first marriage I've ever had, and he'll be the only person I ever marry. I love him more than anything in the whole wide world. He saved me. He took me out of a bad situation and helped me get back on my feet. Like, he has really taken me under his wing, his family, everything. And so I just feel so lucky to have him in my life. But I'm telling you guys, I love you guys, and I just want you to know that, like, please don't be out. Please don't stay in a relationship where someone doesn't respect you, because it's going to follow you. And what happens is then you don't. It took so long for me to get past that. Hey, Anita. It took so long for me to get healed from that relationship with that guy. So anyway, I love you guys. I really just want y'all to know that abusive relationships are so hard to get over and get out of and get them behind you. And it really does wear on you, and it really does make you second guess yourself. So I want you guys to have yourself, hold yourselves up and respect yourselves and love yourself enough to know that you don't deserve to be treated like that. Okay? All right, I'm going to go make chicken and dumplings. Sorry that y'all know I get a little emotional. I love you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with Nick from Hopeless to Hopeful, because he's going to tell his story. Okay? All right, love you guys. And you can text me at 991-5149 anytime you need anything.